I drink and I know things. That's what I do.
Season 1 of House of the Dragon, well, it's over, okay? But Drunk on Dragons, no, no, no. We are not going anywhere. This is the season 1 wrap up episode. So grab your drinks to hear what we thinks. I'm your host, Jamie G, master of pilots. And I'm here with our master of coin, Jay Scratch, and the protector of mountains himself, Magnum Mills.
Yeah, these mountains could be a little bit colder. Don't worry. I have reinforcements coming up the King's Road. You got to do what you got to do this day and age in Westeros. Thank you for checking us out. This is Drunk on Dragons. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, all the good ones. Find our YouTube channel at joeblowfootballshow.com. Find us on social media at Drunk on Dragons. Thanks a lot for checking out the show. If you could take a second to please like, follow, comment, rate, subscribe. Even just one of those things takes you a couple seconds, helps us out, helps people find the show. We really appreciate it. Please and thank you. And the man, the myth, the money, the man who protects the scratch. Jay, what are you drinking tonight?
The protector of the scratch. Tonight, I am drinking on I think it's a Dr. Beer Works. Is a Vermont IPA. It's pretty light, not as hoppy as you'd think, especially due to the color, but it's nice and crisp. Got a good finish to it.
That's what she said, and that's all you ever want to hear. And just the heads up, you don't want a lot of heads in your beer, but you do need to know that Drunken Dragons is a full spoiler show. All episodes of House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones are on the table for discussion here. Given that this is a season wrap up, that's probably going to come up. We could definitely see a couple of book spoilers here and there, but nothing that would spoil anything for you for future seasons. Despite that, we'll give you a heads up, before discussing anything of note from the books. And if you don't know, now you know.
Knowing is half the battle.
Dun, 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 the more you know. Let's start out with our overall thoughts on the season and give it a grade before we dive into all the nasty details. We're going to go around the horn here, each talk about what our expectations were for the first season of House of Dragon and whether or not the season lived up to those expectations. And we're each going to grade the season on a scale of 1 to 10 drag-ons. Who wants to go first here?
I had kind of low expectations for the show, I'm not going to lie. It felt like a cash grab. HBO Max is entering the streaming wars. You had the other pilot with Naomi Watts that was something that was kind of more interesting, maybe more about where the White Walkers came from initially, that kind of thing, some stuff that hasn't really been covered in books. So I was more curious about this, like doing House of the Dragon, doing Fire and Blood seemed like the safe thing. So I would say my expectations were kind of low, but the show definitely exceeded my expectations. I think it looked great. I think it fit right in with the Game of Thrones universe. I think ideally they're trying to, do the thing where you could start watching House of the Dragon, have it flow into Game of Thrones, and that adds to the viewing experience. I like all that. The time jumps were a little bit rough at times. There's a few things that I wouldn't say felt cash grabby, but it didn't quite have maybe all of the wit and the dialogue that peak Game of Thrones had, but it was pretty good. So I gotta say, exceeded my expectations. 9.0 Dragon, keep it right there in that kind of high B, low A range, because it was a hard bar to clear, man. Like, everyone had the bad taste of season 8 of Game of Thrones in their mouth, and people were kind of like, look at all the options you have now. It's not like when Game of Thrones debuted, when HBO show came out, it was, crazy. Now the landscape is a lot more crowded. They came out right against Lord of the Rings. I think they held up, did a good job. So 9.0 Dragons. Who wants to go next?
Very similar. Didn't have really high expectations after the kind of failure of the last season of Game of Thrones. Did have some good questions about George R.R. Martin being a part of it and like attached more to it, and wanted to see if that would make a difference. Also, the fact that it's the story's complete was a positive. But yeah, I had my questions, and I'm not disappointed at all. As a matter of fact, I thought is very good. I don't know that I'd put it up there with season 1 of Game of Thrones, but I put it in the mix of 2 or 3, season 2 or 3 of Game of Thrones. I feel like it was a really good it's a good preface to where the war is going to go. And that's kind of how they described it, was like, this is just the start of the story. I kind of felt like the pacing, like you were saying, was a little bit off. I wish we had more time with more of the politics and more of how long it takes to get places. I granted, obviously, the episode would have been long, the season would have been longer, but I feel like it Game of Thrones kind of needs that in order for you to kind of establish this crazy world of Westeros. As far as dragons go, I'm gonna I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 9.1 dragons, man.
Yeah, guys, I'm kind of right there with you. I purposefully did not want to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. And so I did not allow myself to get overly hyped or excited about this. It wasn't until right before it aired and there was a trailer that came out, and I was like, oh man, I want to like this. I want this to be awesome. But again, proceeded with caution here. And then episode 1 came out, and I was like, okay, maybe we got something here. And, as they overcame a lot of their challenges. Obviously, we talked about the time jumps and stuff, and there were some problems, some frustrations with that. But I think ultimately they kind of overcame it. And it's a big deal what they had to, like, the reason why they had to do that to kind of move the story along and take these child actors and turn them into adolescent actors and turn them into young adult actors. Like, that was kind of an interesting thing. So they got a lot accomplished with it. I think they overcame it. Did they hit it perfect? No, but I think they kind of got there with the intention of what they were trying to do. And then they had other challenges too that I think they kind of nailed as well. I mean, recasting some of their star characters, not knowing who to root for, who not to root for until you kind of get close to the end of the season 1. So I think they, when you look at what they accomplished with how huge of a scope it was, then you had a lot of work to do on this one for season 1. I think they did that. And so I really respect that. I enjoyed the show, man. I think it exceeded all of my expectations and then some. It's been enough time since that last season of Game of Thrones to where I kind of like got over it a little bit. There's also been a lot of other good shit that's come out. So it's kind of like it's not that I like forgive it for being a bad, season wrap, but I do I've moved on a little bit. So I think this came out at the right time. I got to be honest, man. I'm really excited about season 2, dude. I think this story deserves to be told. I like that we can see it. I like that they had the benefit of kind of figuring out some shit in Game of Thrones and putting it in here. The budget was a lot bigger from Jump Street. And so, they sprinkled in the dragons just enough. And then we finally kind of got a little action at the end. But they are the ultimate edger. I mean, they'll just edge you and edge you and edge you and then pull back and then edge you and then pull back. I mean, that's felt like all season 1 was a giant edge here. But I was impressed, man. I really liked it. I'm going to give it right in that same range. I'm probably going to give it 9.2 dragons. I'm right there. This thing's in the 9s for me. It was a good fucking season, man. I really enjoyed it. It's a good show.
Yeah, I think the thing that needs to be noted for sure is that a couple of years after everybody has kind of a bad taste, or most people have a bad taste in their mouth, you get back in that first scene where you're flying over King's Landing and going to King's Landing. It's like, oh shit, we're here, and they did production quality wise, like you said, casting, dialogue, like all of that stuff was really on point. The acting was on point, and it lived up to.
And it looked fantastic, didn't it? I mean, it looked fantastic. I mean,
yeah, I don't know what
created
everybody
this
was
world.
talking about the dark scene. Like, turn your TVs up. We should know better by now. Like,
Yeah, contrast is a thing. The level of the black that you want, and yeah, obviously it was crazy. I didn't think that they would get this far after losing the first pilot. It seemed like this was one of those things that was going to be development hell. Very impressed that they actually pulled this off to the level that they did.
well, I think one thing, and just to be noted, I just want to sidebar for a second here. I think something to be noted is that they canceled Westworld because it's so expensive. I feel like we should be worried about the upcoming seasons of Game of Thrones if this Warner Brothers HBO merger is going to fuck everything over, which it's been doing. I mean, Westworld, we're not going to get a final season of Westworld. Come on. So I would be on our eggshells on this one, because we might not get to see the season 2.
I'm hoping that we do. Try, let's stay positive here,
I mean,
Debbie.
I feel like they're going to do this. I think this is a 4-season show that they might stretch to 5, but I feel pretty confident that And they've shown a good balance here, that they understand how to mix some of the practical stuff and the less expensive stuff inside the castle with the expensive CGI stuff, where the later seasons of Game of Thrones got caught up in the spectacle, I think, which definitely ballooned the budget past where it needed to go. Even considering, you're obviously paying options out on these actors now, you're 8 seasons into a big show. Like, yeah, that's going to cost a lot of money. But
Well, drinking comes before dragons in our title. So let's start there. Which House of Dragon character would you most want to spend a day or night with having a couple drinky poos? I'll go first here. I got a 2-part answer. Okay. Just if I want to have like the weirdest experience of my life, Larry Strong would just be the strangest dude to have drinks with. And no, I'm not going to do any foot shit, but it's going to be a weird one. It's like, okay, that's a weird one. But I think all in all, part of me wanted to answer with dying Viserys with the mask and he like can't even drink, but I'm not going to go there. I am going to go with Sir Criston Cole so I can find out why he's decided to devote his life on some grudge shit from a one-night stand that he had. I need to know. Inquiring minds need to know. Let's have a drink, Sir Criston Cole, and let's find out.
I think it was more than a one-night stand, but whatever. I'll go the same way you did and say that if I wanted to have the craziest night of my life, you go down to Flea Bottom with Aegon too, young Aegon, you'll see some shit that'll turn you white, to paraphrase Ernie Hudson in the Ghostbusters. Like, you'll see some shit, man. And if you just had a good bottle of whiskey, you want to have a quiet night of drinking, good conversation, Rhaenys, the queen who never was. I just feel like you could just drink with her until the sun came up and just have just an excellent quality, just enjoyment of nice alcohol and great conversation.
I'll go with 2 as well. I'm gonna go with, well, I think Helena Targaryen would be a real weird out kind of experience that I think you could have some drinks with, maybe even find out what your future holds. Seeing as how she talks to, isn't she the one that talks
Yeah,
to
she does prophecies and
bugs?
whatnot. So you could be holding off for the lotto numbers or bare minimum who to start your
Yeah,
fantasy football lineup that week.
right, exactly. And then you guys are just, it's weird to me, Miller. You went with Aegon in Flea Bottom, and you didn't go with young Daemon Targaryen, because I feel like at least he's having a good time. Probably not as brutal. Probably more on the drunk music orgy side, and I'm a lover, so I would love to be a fly on the wall, watching Daemon gallivant around King's Landing.
That was calculated because Damon had a higher ceiling. Like, you could see even more crazy shit, but the floor was like you die. With Eamon, the floor was like the King's Guard takes you home. You know what I mean? So I liked having that safety net. I definitely thought about both of those things. 100%.
Well, good strategy there for sure. Guys, as far as the show itself goes, what was your favorite drinking moment from the first season? And this was a season where we didn't get like a ton of hardcore drinking, but anything stand out for your favorite moment? I'm happy to start off here. I've got 2. I know we're only supposed to do 1, but I really enjoyed that scene when we saw Damon in, I think it was Pentos or something, and he's with his wife, who was the Valerian, who ends up dying giving birth. But and he's he's just sitting around getting drunk on the rooftop, like reading about the history and shit. And he's so mad that there's this bullshit wine, and he wanted he wanted to go back to Westeros only for the good strong wine. So made me think that maybe he's not a white wine guy, maybe he's more of a bold Malbec or Merlot type guy in Westeros. So I really enjoyed that. And then the second one was, I thought it was kind of cool as Alicent kind of emerges into her role of power, that she's like, she's showing up, she's trying to fix shit, as Viserys is, right after Viserys dies, and they just like hand her the wine, and she's like, yes, you're right. I haven't slept. I just did some weird foot shit with Loras. This is good. I need this. So I thought that was cool. Those were my top 2 for sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with one because I'm gonna try to stick to the rules this time, and I'm gonna go with I believe it was Rhaena Targaryen that became Rhaenyra's cupbearer at the end. I feel like that was just the moment of like, all right, she's the queen, you're her cupbearer, like you're. I feel like there's going to be a good amount of Rhaena next season. I think we're going to see her dragon ride. I feel like we're going to see all of the younger ones kind of. We're going to get some drama with
That
them.
moment in the finale when she offers, "Oh, wine, my queen," like right when she walks, like the war council and everything. Yeah, I like that. I like what y'all are putting down, but I am going to say probably just the entire episode. Remember where they go into the woods on the hunt and they like bring the animal for Viserys to kill? Dude, Viserys just gets gradually drunker and drunker and drunker in that episode, winding up with him at the fire where he kind of tries to tell Alicent about the prophecy of ice and fire and everything, and it doesn't really register for her, which is crucial when she misunderstands his final words later on. Like if she had paid attention there, or maybe if he'd been less drunk or whatever. But that whole episode, he screams at Rhaenyra, he screams at Jason Lannister and everything. Viserys just gets hammered and yells at everyone. That was a good time and probably my favorite drinking moment from the first season.
Definitely a good one. And I think it was the big first like hardcore scene where we saw somebody like get actually hammered. So that's pretty cool too. And we took care of the first thing in our title. But how about we take care of the first thing that we see on the show each week? And after 9 episodes, how do you feel about that opening title sequence and the fact that they basically reuse the Game of Thrones theme song as the opener?
I would have rather them taking their shot and do a new one. I get the idea, like George R.R. Martin said, they want it to be like Star Wars, so all Game of Thrones universe shows will start with the same song or whatever. But it feels like they were scared. But HBO's done so many great themes over the year, and even Ramin Djawadi, I think he also did Westworld or whatever. I feel there was another great theme out there. I would have rather had them take their shot and then even change it if they need to. A lot of shows have changed their theme song in subsequent seasons. So I would have liked to have seen something new. And the whole Blood River thing it was fine, but again, it feels like they were trying to do like kind of a pale imitation to what existed before without putting their own spin on it, so to speak.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I really didn't have much of a problem with them reusing the song. I feel like he did enough. Is it Jawadi? Did enough like changes. I feel like Jawadi did enough changes to kind of make it feel like original, like it was its own show. I had more of a problem with the river deal. I liked it. I liked that you could see the bloodlines and how they flowed and everything, but you really couldn't see the bloodlines and how they flowed and everything. Like there wasn't really an explanation as to like the sigils. Like it really just didn't like it wasn't I just didn't feel like it was explained enough. And maybe that's me just being a stupid viewer, but like it was way easy to understand, oh, these are the Starks, these are the Lannisters, like this and this. When you got down to these little sigils and ones like I understood the jade, like the sapphire was, Aemon, but like outside of that, like you really had to like pause and like look at everything in detail. And then there were ones on the walls and everything in the back. Like it just it was very convoluted to me, I feel like. And like I said, you had to go through it really slow, so it wasn't natural. Whereas the first series, you traveled with it, it stopped, you could read it, like it was a map. I almost wish they went with the map, man.
Yeah, I mean, you could describe the intro to Game of Thrones in one word: epic. It was the maybe most epic intro in the history of television. I
Of
mean,
course, yeah.
fucking epic. Like you can't
Well, you were
really.
waiting to see what the changes were. Like you wanted to see, all right, the wall fell last episode. What are they going to do with the openings,
Yeah.
of the wall?
Yeah. Well, to play devil's advocate just for a smidge here, why would you go with a new theme song when you created arguably one of the coolest, best theme songs in the history of theme songs? I mean, this thing's way up there. So for me, I was not mad that they chose to do it. Jay, I will 100% agree with your point. They could make this opening with the Blood River so much better if they simply showed more detail on what those things are each time it starts to flow into it. At first, I thought it was houses where the Valerian blood has spread, or parts of the map, like something. Like they need to make this better so that we get that visual and we can follow it around along. They can do, in theory, something, maybe not as cool, but something super cool with this, like they did with the map in Game of Thrones, through following that blood and seeing where it is. And it has the ability to add on to it as we get new houses, new characters, new things that come as the seasons go on here and the show matures. So I think it has the potential to be awesome, but I'm with you that they need to kind of slow it down and get more detail on what those things that are unlocking when the blood starts to flow in, and give us those Easter eggs, man. Give us some shit to follow and get hyped about and enjoy watching that, because I think it's got all the potential in the world. But I hope they build on it as we head into season 2.
Look, I'd say you pivot the business here. Like if you look behind me, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you see the version of the painted table that they lit up.
Yeah.
And that is awesome. So I just say it's like you just pivot the business. You go from blood to fire, and you can, because this kind of connect as a map, but you can show the fire to, you put like, they have the big
where the war
items,
is
like,
moving to.
Yep, you use the sigils of the houses to move
Super
it
cool.
around to kind of illustrate the thing you saw with the Game of Thrones with the map. So it's kind of its own spin on it. So it's similar. And then imagine like you get a little dragon just firing in there, and you're like, oh, you know what dragon you're going to maybe see that episode or something like that. I think there's a lot of ways you could go with that are cool. And you could even, fade into it and, keep the river of blood that fades into the river of fire because it's fire and blood or something. So there's a way you can even play it off, and I think put both ideas together. But that fucking table is so cool. I think as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, that should be the intro. Like that's
Table's
the coolest
awesome,
shit I've
man.
ever seen.
Yeah,
the
table's
cool.
the coolest shit. Like, yes.
If we all agree on something, yeah, it's pretty cool. Basically, that's how it works. If you can get 6 guys that don't get my bar to agree on something, it's probably cool.
I wouldn't be mad at all if they start season 2 and they still use the theme song, but they do it with the table. Like I'm there for that, dude. I think that's cool.
Yeah, because you can even like swoop along it and do like the first person perspective, and like you have like the houses, like they're little sigil pieces or like chess pieces, and they move, and you can look up and see a dragon fly. Like instead of a knight, there's a dragon that can fly over people, make it like chess or something like that. I think there's a real way that could be cool with like fire and a chessboard and that kind of thing.
We're all there for it. HBO, all you got to do is you got to reach out to our people. Don't worry. We'll do good work for you. Give you all the ideas you need to make this show epic. We just got done with Halloween, so let me ask you this. Which costume or cosplay from season 1 of House of the Dragon would you most likely rock? Like what is the one that you guys want?
Oh, Viserys is a crypt keeper. How can it be anything else?
With the half mask and
the cheap way would be to do Daemon in a hoodie or whatever, but yeah, dude, give me Viserys when his shit's all falling off or whatever, and trying to pull that off with the weird like Fan of the Opera mask and shit. 100%.
Yeah, I think that's great, dude. Outside of that, I would like to do a Corliss just because I love the hair, dude. Like that would be fun. I don't know, like if I'm even allowed to do that in this day and age, but I would like to do a Corliss.
Yeah, see, I was gonna say Corliss, so you're not allowed to do it strictly on the fact that I said I was gonna do it. Probably also because you can't do blackface. So it wouldn't work out.
Get tan, bro. I mean,
But I'm gonna go with Corliss, and I'm gonna go with a mix. I'm gonna do Mills. You'd like this, man. I'm doing a crossover mix. I'm doing Corliss and Blondie dreads from Bad Boys 2. Mashup, dude.
All right. You know what, guys? I'm gonna do something that neither one of you did. I'm dressing up as the biggest, scariest dragon in the realm. Okay, I'm going as a dragon, and yeah, maybe I'll give out dragon rides before the night's through. We'll find out. Stick around. It is hard to talk about this season without at least mentioning the time jumps. I mean, we talked about it a little bit as we opened this up. We had a bunch of them, a couple of fairly big ones. I said that I thought that they ended up kind of overcoming the challenges and pulled this off. But did they pull it off in satisfactory fashion for you two?
Yeah, I was gonna say for the most part, it worked out. Like I said, I just feel like they should have like it needed to be extended a little bit more. I feel like we could have got more of the story. Like we could have gotten when they did that the first time jump with those characters, I feel like we didn't develop those kids enough to like really care about them. And then yeah, I mean, so there's just some stuff where they could have extended it. I don't think that it was like, oh, that was way too short. I just feel like I would have really appreciated more.
Yeah, this is a weird kind of structural thing where I think they might have been better off if they elected to kind of do the aging up with the time jumps, do kind of like a British thing and do like 4 2-hour like movies slash long episodes or whatever. So you kind of split it 2 and 2 maybe to give it equal time. And even if you have to age up one character within that longer 2-hour piece or whatever, it was hard to gain like as much just investment in the character when they flash forward. And I thought the actresses, the actors, everybody did the best job. But on the other hand, like, shout out Matt Smith. I'm sure he had to do a lot of shit. But Damon basically looks the same after the entire time jumps. And so does like Kristen Cole. Otto just gets a little gray in his beard. And like they jumped so far, I expected Viserys to die after the first long time jump.
Yeah, I feel like the thing was with the casting was maybe a little bit of the issue with the time jumps because like Aemon looks way older than like
Yes.
Luceria and all them. And I mean, he's supposed to be a little bit older, but he also looks way older than like Aegon. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a
Right.
weird.
Yeah, he looks like Aemon looks like a fair match for Damon, which he's not supposed to look like yet.
Yes.
The
And
idea is this
that's
little
almost like
tiny
if they
kid
had
that got
used
bullied got the
dude,
biggest
if they'd have
dragon.
used Aemon back in the beginning in the first 4 episodes, and then when you did the 10-year time jump, switch it over to bit. I understand they didn't want to change over Matt Damon Stone because he was just an incredible actor and kind of held the whole show together. But that I feel like that would have been a better casting. You're right.
Because of those time jumps, we get multiple actors playing the same character. A couple of big standouts on the recasting scene, but like which one worked best for you and which one did you think was absolutely the worst?
I'll go first on this one. I think Alicent was probably the best for me. You went from Emily Carey to Olivia Cook. The mannerisms were good. I think it felt like more of a continuation of the character where, I like what both our actresses did with Rhaenyra, but it felt like more of an imitation maybe. And I think that's maybe because we saw more of Rhaenyra. And I would say the worst one is probably that Lena Valerian. That's the the youngest daughter on the Valerian side there. She was recast. There were 3 different actresses that played her. The last actress like had like 3 scenes. They killed her off. So that's the kind of thing that makes it hard to gain any connection to the character, especially for something that was supposed to be like a very motivating factor for Damon.
Yeah, I mean that's a really solid point, Lena. I didn't even think about Lena being 3 different characters, and you didn't get that.
Yeah, we saw her in the first episode, like in the pilot, she was like played by a 6-7-year-old.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason, like we're talking about, you couldn't get that character development and that emotion forward with Damon is because you didn't really connect to her character too much. I'm gonna stick with Damon, man. I just don't feel like Damon. Like I like his character, I like the actor, and I think he's doing well in the part. I just don't like how much older he looks than everybody else. It feels off for some reason.
I think, look, man, both characters and actresses that played Rhaenyra, I think, did a great job. And so I really enjoyed and started to latch on to the young, youthful Rhaenyra. And then we get the transition to the new Rhaenyra, the adult Rhaenyra, and I think that worked really well. And that's so hard to pull off, dude. I mean, imagine how many shows can you think of that like recast their main character, like halfway through season 1. I mean, it's on purpose. I mean, it's nuts. So I just give them a lot of credit for doing that. I think it worked really, really well for me. We've got a huge, massive cast here, but which character actor is being the most underutilized by this show, in your opinion?
This one's easy for me. It's Graham McTavish, who is the nominal Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, Harold Westerling. Like he's badass. Like he's one of the only, I think there's only 5 actors who are credited for appearing in every episode, and he's there. And I don't even remember him having 10 scenes. Like this dude is great. He's been in a bunch of different things, phenomenal actor. In the books, like minor book spoiler, yada yada yada, he is already dead. So that means the show has other plans for him, which, you know, obviously if you're going to sign this kind of the caliber of an actor to a role. So definitely Graham McTavish as Harold Westling for me. Who else? Who's being underutilized here?
I'm going with Laris Long or Strong. Laris the Strong Long. You know, we've seen a couple scenes with him where obviously he's done some fucked up shit. You know, that whole, you know, was it the 4th episode or wherever where he kills his brother and his dad. But he's just been under the radar. You haven't really seen a lot of him, and it's kind of weird to see that. Like even with Varys and Littlefinger, like they were making moves under the radar, but they still had prominent roles. So I'm just wondering if we're going to see more of him. I kind of like him as an actor. He's real creepy. He pulls it off really well. So I think he's being underutilized for sure.
And the show needs him, right? The show needs this weaseling, conniving, secret spreading disruptor that does it in such a weird, creepy way, right? Like the show really needs it. So I hope that we see more of him. And honestly, I hope that someone else, not similar, but in kind of the same vein, steps in too, right? Because I think the show needs more of those kind of like hidden players that are chess piece movers that are more significant than maybe you realize at first.
Right. I mean, that's like you know, you want to have those characters that you kind of love to hate. Like that was, you know, whether it's Littlefingers or Varys or whatever. So
I think the thing about it was like you're saying, like, you know, Jamie G, you were saying like that they're a disruptor, and it's like you never know what could happen in an episode because of the things that they're doing under the radar, which, you know, like we're saying, their workings are under the radar, but I feel like his character could be more forefront. And in like you see him more, so you're reminded, oh yeah, he's got fucking children, he's got little fucking spiders and shit, you know.
Oh, dude, definitely, because then it adds a fun, cool dynamic to the show. It's can't miss because you don't know who's gonna. There's so many different things in your mind, and then you start getting the theories and shit, and you get excited, especially when we're dealing with the show that's a 1 per week drop. You almost need that. That's how the model works. So I totally agree with you there. Speaking of some of our favorite characters, let's talk about the characters we love to hate. Hate. I need each of you to tell me who the worst character was in season 1 for you. And the definition of the worst is up to you, but just tell us who was the worst and why.
Miss Kristen Cole, dude, he was some fucking bitch. Just bitch moves overall. I don't even need to over-explain it. Like, he broke his vows and then blamed the woman he slept with for it. No. Kristen Cole, dude, easy, the worst.
Yeah, I gotta agree, man. I'm going Kristen Cole. He's a fucking bitch. No offense to ladies either. That's he sucks.
He's a punk ass, dude. He's a punk ass.
He's a punk ass. Yeah.
He's a punk ass.
He's a mark ass motherfucker.
He is a mark ass. Totally agree with it, guys. I'm not going to argue. I think that's 3 for 3. I mean, he's the worst just because of that, and the fact that his whole point of his whole plot line is that it's like, bro, 20 years later, you're still like holding this. It's the worst. How did you guys feel about the scale of season 1? We spent most of our time in King's Landing and or Dragonstone, and we really kind of we rarely interacted with anybody outside of the Targaryens, the Valerians, or the Hightowers, right? So did that work for you? And, you know, are you looking forward to seeing maybe some more houses in season 2? I know personally, I got excited when they started talking about, you know, House Stark and, you know, some of the ones that we're familiar with from the Game of Thrones realm. I want to see those two kind of things start to bleed together here a little bit as we start to see some of the early shit. Not that House of the Dragon is about the Stark's house or their story or the First Men or anything like that. That would be super fucking cool too. But the fact that we can get them incorporated here a little bit more with the Lannisters, right? The Baratheons, especially knowing that the Baratheons are the one that get the throne after the Targaryens here. So figuring out and getting pieces of those would make me extremely happy. I'm hoping we get that in season 2.
So I would have liked it if they would have ended it in Winterfell and like the brother found out about it in Winterfell and just left it at like a cliffhanger where he's still in Winterfell and like you don't know what's going to happen. And I thought it would have added an interesting dynamic because the show starts in King's Landing and would have ended in Winterfell. And if you look at Game of Thrones, it starts in Winterfell, or well, actually, it starts north of the Wall first, and the season ends in King's Landing. So I just thought that would have been a really interesting dynamic. And I also it just seems like why would you wait till season 2 to show, like, just give us a little fan fucking favor, fan service. Just show us Winterfell at the end.
No, I would have loved to see it, bro.
Even if it's just to show us like a crow flying to Winterfell with the letter in his hand of like your brother's dead. Like even if it was that, like almost like Littlefinger's crow flying in with John Aaron's dead. Like that would have been like like everybody would have put it together.
I would have loved that. I would be there for that 100%.
Originally I was going to say we would maybe talk about this a little bit more towards the end of the episode, but I like that idea that maybe the ultimate end, we get the big dragon fight, might have been better served. The original Game of Thrones might have put that as the climax of the 9th episode, but even here, I wouldn't have minded getting it like a third of the way through at the end of the first act, and then kind of getting a longer denouement where it plays out, like you said, where you start to see like kind of the fallout for it a little bit more, and it sets up season 2 where you see someone arrive at Winterfell, either on Dragonback or a Raven arrive, like you said, that kind of thing. Maybe play it out a little more. You can play around with the timing of it or whatever, but I know they wanted to go out on season 1 on a big one, but sometimes for Game of Thrones, I think the strength was always, that the smaller moments that you knew, like, oh shit, like that's what sets up the next thing.
And guys, we're this close, ready to talk about dragons here. I swear, just stay with me. But one more thing first. What was your biggest what the fuck moment from season 1? And did it have anything to do with feet? That's a rhetorical, because it probably did.
Yeah, I mean that was a weird scene. I'm gonna go with there's 2 death scenes that I'm thinking about. One is the wedding death of who's boyfriend, who was just fucking brutal.
Yeah.
But the death I'm gonna go with is I'm gonna go with Valerian. I'm gonna go with what's his name? Corliss's brother. Valerian.
Oh yeah, when he gets his head, like,
dude, when he gets
basically-
his fucking head cut in half and his tongue is still on, like he kept his tongue. He didn't, like, that was the cool shit about it, was like Damon's like, I'm not even gonna cut your tongue out, I'm just gonna cut your fucking head in half, like the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Just like
it's a weird angle. It's a funny angle, dude. Yeah.
And it just clean cut, showing the
yeah, David did that intentionally.
Steel,
yep.
So badass.
It was a badass scene. The one that kind of obviously outside of the weird foot scene, I think that kind of reigns supreme. But one that really surprised me was that scene when they're looking for Aegon, and they go and it's like Aegon's bastard children that he's accumulated over the years, like growing nails and like fighting each other in like these strange like death pits. It was bizarre and like really messed up. And also, like, am I reading that right, or am I a sick individual for even
100%?
That? It was weird. Like,
that's crazy, dude.
It was weird. It was a weird. It felt weird, right? And I know that's the point. That's
what the fuck?
Does,
like, that is.
It was a weird thing.
WTF. Yeah.
It didn't feel right. That, dude. Also, okay, can just hear me out on this as an honorable mention here? When right after, early on, dude, before the time jumps and stuff, when Viserys is thinking about remarrying, and Corlys Valerian promises like 4-year-old daughter, like the grossest fucking thing.
That's
and they're
so
like
gross.
walking around like on a romantic stroll through the gardens.
Yeah.
That was so uncomfortable and gross and weird and like, oh, dude, really?
Weird.
What the? I mean,
Yeah,
that
like
was
you were
just,
supposed to give like Viserys like credit, like good job on not marrying the 12-year-old person.
although it would have been better for the realm if he did.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Probably. How
they
crazy
would have
is
solved
that?
everything. As
It
weird
would
as
have
it is,
solved
like
everything.
just be a pedophile this one time, Viserys. Like,
Yeah.
is
Oh
that what it said
God.
in the dagger? I mean, I don't know what the whole dagger says.
And please, we're a comedy show. In no way, shape, or form are we ever. It was gross. It was
Pedophilia is
horrible.
very
And
bad.
I mean, we're
yeah,
talking about a fantasy show.
yeah, just want to
where
make sure.
like where the parents suggested the pedophilia.
Yeah,
Yes.
Like the parents put it in play. Viserys did not seek it out actively.
the
That's the
realm
crazy,
is
interesting dynamic of like Game of Thrones. The whole series in total is like
yeah,
you're actively rooting for like incest or something. Like it's
incest.
just so fucking gross.
It's so weird, dude. They're the only show that's like ever made like incest cool. Like it's a weird
Not
thing.
even cool. Just like they made like Kid
Acceptable.
Harington like be like, all right,
Normal.
great. Like Kid Harington is better than everything else that's going on, kind of.
Well,
Like,
you're like, yeah, I definitely want to see like the Valerians marry the Targaryens, like you know what I mean, like
Well, and
the
everyone was
cousins or
dying,
whatever.
dude. Everyone was dying for Jon Snow to finally seal the deal and bang, like everyone was waiting. And then it's like, oh wait, but she's his aunt. Like it was like a
Yeah,
weird thing. Like, oh no,
weird.
like they actually can't be
well,
in
none
love,
of
and
these
you can't
people
like
even
get that
blink at
nice.
that.
Yeah, you're kind of happy for Jon Snow, like having like some kind of moral ground. Feel like this is strange.
Yeah, it was kind of, even though like you feel sad for him because it's like, that might have been like your one true love. You guys, like that sucks, but
Nah.
what do we
Eventually,
know?
sequels will be made.
Sequels will be made. And guys, we're here. What was your favorite dragon related moment from season 1?
I'll start. For me, it's definitely the finale. I know Miller said he didn't really like where they left it off, but I think that was the coolest moment. It was by far awesome to see like big dragon shadow through the clouds, and then how the dragon goes up, like the smaller dragon goes up higher to get away because he knows if he goes higher, the big dragon can't get up there, and then like just the way they played it, they used like real physics to kind of work it out. Like you could imagine, 5 guys sitting in a room with like dragon figurines, like just fucking. That's what I would have been doing anyway. But yeah, really cool scene. I feel like that was like because the whole sequence was tense. Like you felt the tension that he was feeling. So spot on with that.
It was incredible. And I have to put it at my top, even though I thought some of the stuff about how you claim a dragon was super cool. And those were awesome moments. And also the harvesting of eggs and shit I thought was really cool. But I've got to put that final kind of battle where you just see the size and the scope. It was very cool, man. So well done. And for me, it's got to be on top.
That's what she said. And I will say that, yeah, obviously the final scene is probably the best dragon on dragon action we've ever seen on film. But give me that scene in the penultimate episode where Rhaenys bursts up through the floor of the dragon pit and stands in front of the motherfuckers. I thought that was great. And overall, I thought the best use of dragons was every time someone wants to make a point who has a dragon, they fly in on their dragon. They land at where like the dragon can look at the other people, and then they walk. And then when someone says something they don't like, the dragon roars at them. That's the fucking flex. That's how you use dragons. So,
and dude, I mean, I don't even want to imagine what dragon breath smells like, but I thought that they did a great job of showing the tension and how scary it is when one of these things emerges. Also, the ball of flame forming in the mouth is super cool. Like that looks awesome. I thought that was a cool ass addition to some of the work they did towards the tail end of Game of Thrones with dragons into House of the Dragons with the work they're doing with these ones. So double thumbs up on all things dragons. And now it's time for each of us to stand before the Iron Throne and swear our allegiance to our favorite episode of the season. What was everybody's favorite episode? You had a choice of 10. Let's hear it.
I'm still going with Lord of the Tides. I think that was probably my favorite. I believe that was 8, right before 9 and 10, which are kind of a 2-part finale. I thought that really did a good job of kind of bringing the new recasted characters like into a place where I legitimately cared about them and what was going to happen in the finale, and was legitimately excited about what came next. So yeah, I'm going to still go that way. That was how I voted. Who wants to pledge to the throne next?
Well, I won't be bending the knee here, but I'm going to agree with you and say that was also my favorite episode. I had favorite moments from other episodes, but I'm going to say just kind of like from bookend to book, like from start to finish, I think that was the most complete, best episode of the season. And then the final episode I would probably put as my 1B, but I'm going to agree with you, Magnum Mills, but I'm not bending the knee here, bud. Okay, don't get carried away.
Guys, I'm going to differ with you a little bit. I am going to go with King of the Narrow Sea because the way that ends with the acting, Damon receiving the letter from Viserys, and he doesn't say a word for that final, was it 12 minutes? He just goes through, he kills that messenger, goes through fucking kills the crab fucking eater or whatever the fuck he is, and just fucking owns the day, man. Basically sacrifices himself and walks out on top with half a fucking body in his hands, and just fucking wins, dude. I just felt like that was a badass scene. I thought the acting on that is like some of the best in the show.
Yeah, I mean, when he comes out with half the bod dragging the corpse of the crab feeder, dude, that's way up there. Very,
Pretty
very
epic.
cool.
Pretty epic.
His whole fight scene, how that whole thing worked out, it had that feel of like not necessarily maybe like a battle of the bastards or anything, but
I
it
was
kind of
gonna
had that
say
feel
that
where it
kind
was
of
like
does, yeah.
it had it a little bit, right? Like it was cool, dude. Like no doubt about that. I enjoyed that as a pretty awesome fight scene for sure. We didn't get a ton of that, so that brings us to our power rankings here. We all rank the characters to figure out who is in the best position to win the Iron Throne after 10 episodes. We're only 10 episodes in, but we still did it, okay? And we all voted. Magnum Mills, master of the mathematician, okay? He did the math on this. He did it. So tell us, Mills, who do we think is the top dog in Westeros after 10 episodes?
All right. Well, I'm just macering around here. What we have basically is a tie for first, then we have a third place, and then a two-way tie for fourth. So the two-way tie for fourth at the end here, we have Otto Hightower. I ranked him third. Jay ranked him fifth. Jamie G, you ranked him fourth. So, I mean, that's about as average as it gets. Tied with Otto Hightower at fourth, we have Aemon II Targaryen, the young Aegon, the dude who is currently king, or at least who was claimed to be in the Dragon Pit. I had him at 6. Jay had him at 2. Jamie G had him at 5. So again, I think we're on the same page here. And that brings us to 3. And this is an interesting one. It's Eamon Targaryen. Like he's got Vhagar, he's got the eye patch. He made a big decision. What will he say? Will he admit to killing Luke? Will he say it was an accident? Who knows? We have him at 3, and then we have a tie at number 1 between Rhaenyra Targaryen and Daemon Targaryen. We got 2 of the blacks at the top. I had Rhaenyra and Daemon at 4 and 2. Jay had them at 1 and 3, and Jamie G, you had him at 1 and 6. Jamie G, you were the lowest on Daemon Targaryen. Why were you the lowest on him?
I just don't see him emerging on the throne, and quite frankly, I don't even know that he has the desire and like the wherewithal and like the willingness to do whatever it takes to get there. I think he's kind of accepted the fact that his best use isn't going to be sitting on the throne. And maybe I'm reading it wrong, but that's just kind of where I'm at with it. I just don't know that I think he knows in his heart of hearts he's not supposed to sit on that throne. So I don't know that he even really wants it.
Jay Scratch, we see 4 Targaryens and only 1 Hightower, and it's Otto. How do you feel like Otto stacks up against the Targaryen mob here, so to speak?
Yeah, so I think putting Otto at number 5 and Aemon at Targaryen, even though Aemon's a Targaryen, he's really The reason why I put him at number 2 is because I don't think that he can be controlled by most anybody except for maybe Otto. And I don't necessarily think he can be controlled by Otto, but I think that Otto can manipulate him better than Allison can. So that's why I have just one of the high towers.
Yeah, so you're on that like Tyrion, like, or excuse me, like the Tywin Joffrey shit, where Tywin always felt like he
Yeah.
could, control Joffrey until he couldn't, basically.
Right. So then, and then in that same vein, I would put Tywin at 5 and I would put Joffrey at 2, only because Joffrey's uncontrollable and you don't know what he's gonna fucking do. He's gonna chop off Sean Bean's head in the first fucking season, you know?
You could definitely compare that moment where Joffrey heard and saw the people cheering for him, where Aegon really didn't, oh, I don't want the crown. And then until you're on that stage and everyone's cheering for you, like, you're human, man. Like, it's hard not to
Yeah.
like be like, this is kind of cool.
The one that we didn't talk about, I think I put Mysaria up at, I think I ranked her at number 4, maybe.
Jay, you had Mysaria at number 4, and I had
Yeah.
her at 11. Jamie G had her unranked. He only ranked 5. But yeah, I think she is going to be like going forward, right? She has to be the analog to the club football, right? Like, if he's going
Well,
to
I see.
be,
We don't know who she is, man. We don't know who she is, dude. One thing we don't, like, she knows so much, man. There's people putting candles out telling her what's going on in the castle. Like, she has inner word, like her power, like, that's why I think she's so powerful, is because we just don't know what she knows, who she is, what her plan is. We have no idea who she's even working for. It feels like she's not working for Otto. It feels like she's not working, like she might be working for the Clubfoot. But really, I mean, the thing about it is there's a shot of her in one of the scenes where she's wearing a necklace, or like her garment has some shit, and it looks like the octagons, almost like the red priestesses. So, not gonna be, theory time here, but this could be one of the red priestesses. I know that she's the white worm right now, but she could be undercover. I just don't know, man. I'm putting her high. I'm putting her at 4. I know it's a high bid for her, but I think she's going to make things happen.
oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Jamie G, is there anybody particularly in your top 5 you defend? I had Eamon pretty high, but again, like, I think he's going to own the fact that he just killed Luke and he's got the biggest dragon in the realm. So, like, I feel like he is even above Aegon because, he could kill Aegon at any time. He's already become a kinslayer. So, what's one more?
Yeah, I think he also is going to be, not held in a favorable eye with Otto and Allison because he essentially started a war. So I just don't know that I see him emerging, because I see him kind of fighting his own internal battle. I don't even know that he's clean in his own house. So for me, I'm not going to defend him. I am going to defend one of the Greens though, because I think there's a better chance of one of the kids dying or something happening with Aegon there, where he's not going to last, and maybe Allison and or Otto get on there sooner rather than later. So I'm not going to discount the Greens here. I think they deserve, both of them honestly deserve a spot in that top 5 in my opinion.
I just want to throw something out here real quick, just because Melisandre, we all know that she still exists in this world, right? And when she died, she was over 100 and something. Like, she
And
was
she
super
could look
fucking
similar if she
old.
showed up now,
She could
basically, because of her.
she could
Yeah.
look similar, or she could be Mysaria. There's
That would
both
be a
her
very cool
names.
thing.
You know what I mean? Shit, I don't know. Just a theory time.
Little theory time, even though it wasn't theory time. It's always theory time.
Little edging.
Hey, man, it's always theory time when you're talking about anything Game of
Hot
Thrones.
take.
And that's what's so fun about it, is just it creates this creative spark in everyone that just wants to figure out shit that could be. So we're here for it. And that's what we do on Drunk on Dragons. Guys, we're almost done here, but I just want to go officially on the record, and I'm going to put a gun to your Johnsons, literally, probably more like metaphorically, but it's there, okay? And I want to know, are you team green or team black? Are you siding with the Hightowers here or the Targaryens? Let me know now. Let the world know. Where do you stand?
My heart wants to be on Team Green, but we know that Viserys wanted Rhaenyra to be his heir, so she is rightfully in the place. We started out, the whole Game of Thrones things with the Starks. You do the right thing, so I feel like I have to be Team Black.
Guys, the way this season went down, it took me almost damn near the entire season to start forming sides and rooting for people. And I gotta say, man, after all of this, call me a noble guy. I mean, Jamie G, I'm a classy guy here. I think that I'm going to stay true to what the realm should do. And it feels like Team Green is stealing one here. And I can't get on board with that. I'm Team Black, baby. Give me Rhaenyra Targaryen. She deserves to be break history and become the first female queen of the realm. And I'm there for that, man. I'm there for that. Team Black.
Yeah, I think we're three here. I think I'm going Team Black as well. I think it's just it's a given. I feel like they're better, the better characters, just the better people in general. I feel like there's just some weird twisted shit happening in the green side. We haven't seen the Citadel yet, but apparently we're gonna go there season 2, and we'll probably see how the inner workings of like the Maesters and how they've been fucking people up, killing, probably even killing Viserys. So Team Black. Let's go righteous with it.
Let's go righteous, dude. We're a couple of noble guys here, noblemen, you could call us, and we're all about truth and justice for the realm. Finally, after all this discussion, do you stand by the grades you gave to season 1 at the beginning of this episode? This is your one chance, maybe, to change. We all still in agreement where we stood here and when we first started this thing?
You move me a little. I'll go from a 9.0 Dragons to 9.1. I really did enjoy it. And I think that was part of the thing that was the best part of Game of Thrones. Like, you enjoyed it with other people, and we can do that with this show. I think we proved that here, so it's worth a little bump here. Just a tiny bump, but go from 9.0 to 9.1 Dragons.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep it at a 9.1. I think that's respectful. I think that was exactly what I was thinking. The fact that we're able to sit here and talk about it and enjoy it, and we all enjoyed it and thought it was good. There's still obviously things that we all agree could be different, not necessarily better, but that would maybe have made it just a little bit more enjoyable. Not that it was not enjoyable at all. So 9.1 is a really great score.
Yeah, I'm gonna stand pat at 9.2. I'm happy with that score. It deserves it. I think it's right where it should be. And look, man, there's something to really build on here. I mean, if they can come out and nail season 2, shit, dude, my score will go up. Maybe mid nines, maybe. I mean, so that's the goal, right? I hope each season gets better and better, and there's an incredible ending, and the story gets told the way it should be. Don't take shortcuts, please. Just tell the story the way it deserves to be told. I can't believe that it's actually November. Like that's my biggest WTF moment. Like, holy shit, it's actually November. Thanks for checking out Drunk on Dragons. We really, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed listening or watching, please like this video. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and rate the podcast wherever you're listening. Do whatever you want to do to show us some love and let us know how you're feeling. We really appreciate it. Helps other people find our show. It's a win-win all the way around. Magnum Mills, protector of the mountains. Cover anything that I might have missed.
Thanks again for checking out Drunk on Dragons. We are all protecting the realm, and we're all excited to be here, even if it won't be until 2024. We will still be here. We're going to talk about Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, maybe the books, some of the press releases. Maybe they make a video game. Who knows? We'll be here. Find us on social media at Drunk on Dragons. Find our YouTube channel at JoeBlowFootballShow.com. Find the podcast wherever you get your pods by searching for at Drunk on Dragons. I'm Magnum Mills with Jamie G and Jay the Scratch with the Soup Deucer here in spirit. And, you got to drink, right? And you're going to watch TV, so you might as well drink and watch TV on a dragon, about dragons, doing dragon shit. Pretty cool. Thank you for checking us out this season. Seriously, good times. We enjoyed it. We will be here not one of those podcasts like, oh, maybe they will come back out in 2 years. Maybe they won't. We'll be here.
We'll see you sometime soon with something related to drinking and dragons. Peace.
Thanks again for checking us out. Drunk on Dragons is an unofficial show. We are not in any way affiliated with House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin, HBO, or Warner Brothers Television. The views expressed here are those of the hosts only and do not reflect the views of any other persons or entities. You can contact us at drunkondragonspod@gmail.com. Please remember to like and subscribe. We'll check you out again next time for more drinking and, of course, more dragons.